Welcome to the podcast where together, every Monday, we explore hospitality in its very broadest sense. From culture and cooking, cocktails and coffee, nutrition and farming, politics and animal welfare, organic and sustainability, family and business, entrepreneurship, and much, much more. Come and learn with me, Mark Cribb, about where our food and our drink comes from, and the businesses and, more importantly, the human beings that thrive on where we decide to spend our time and our money. Sign up to our weekly newsletter at humansofhospitality.co.uk and hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice. Now, for those of you who have been listening to these in chronological order, you'll have noticed that the past couple of weeks I've released an episode recorded from pre-lockdown, whilst I gave most operators, and to be fair myself, a bit of a chance to focus on reopening their businesses. I have, however, managed to interrupt a couple of great operators very early in the reopening journey, and the first of these is today's guest, Danny Peccarelli from the Exclusive Collection. Now, Exclusive to me is a superb example of what can be achieved in the genuine world of hospitality when you're not dominated by venture capitalists or short-term city demands. Exclusive is family owned, it was created by Danny's father, and Danny has been the MD since 1997. They take a very long-term view, are not hugely leveraged, and as you'll hear in this conversation, Danny is a genuine human with a love of the hospitality sector. Danny has also been very helpful in helping England win the Rugby World Cup, but I will let him tell you that story. Now, we also touch on Danny's role as the Chair of the Master Innholders and what that has meant to him. UK hospitality comes up again, and then we get into the details of the operational changes Exclusive have made in reopening. The customer and the team response to those changes has so far been pretty positive, but Danny and I also chew the fat on our expectations of trade as we flip from the leisure to the business market in autumn, and even our thoughts on Christmas, which probably feels a bit wrong to anybody not in the sector considering we are right in the heart of summer. Anyway, point is, I love chatting to Danny and I very much hope you enjoy the conversation. Remember, if you can, support the podcast so that I can continue to invest time and energy into getting the very best guests for your enjoyment, please head over to humansofhospitality.co.uk/donate, and I and many other listeners will be hugely grateful for your help. Thank you and enjoy the conversation. Danny Peccarelli, MD of the Exclusive Collection, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Hugely appreciated. Can I just ask where you are in the world, Danny? Are you at home or are you at work? Or?
I am sitting at Penny Hill, overlooking the opening of this outdoor swimming pool. So there's a hive of activity, and there's about 20 of the spa guys putting sun loungers out and checking chlorine levels. So it's all very exciting.
Yeah, that must really be exciting. So is today the first day it's opened, is it?
The outdoor pool, yeah. We've had manicures and pedicures since Monday, and then we can open gyms from the 25th and indoor pools. So, gradually getting back to normality.
It's funny, isn't it? You don't really appreciate these things until you have to close them down, but just what an amazing feeling it is to see them come back to life again.
I mean, I think everybody in hospitality, by definition, we love people, we love a buzz, and that's been the hardest thing, missing all of that and just seeing guests and seeing happy staff is quite uplifting, to be honest.
Yeah, it really is. What a roller coaster we've been on. So we're going to come into, really looking forward to chatting to you because I know you've got such a diverse collection of venues, like you say, from the spas to the golf course to the pub to the hotel. So really looking forward to getting your perspective on all things, I suppose, coming out the other side of COVID. But before we do that, just want to set a little bit of context with your journey. So Exclusive Collection set up in 1981 by your dad. But for those of you who don't know it, can you just explain a little bit about, the what you offer in your collection?
So we've got 6 amazing hotels: Penny Hill Park, South Lodge, Lainston, Manor House, Royal Berkshire, and Phantoms Hall in Ware. But within those, we've got a golf course at the Manor House. We've got a cookery school at Lainston called Season. We've got 2 spas one at Penny Hill, one at South Lodge. Manor House, we also own a pub. So they're not conventional hotels in the sense of um, uh, bedrooms and one food and beverage outlet. They all have multi offerings, very leisure focused, and also very meetings focused. So we tend to operate in those two market segments, all in the south of England. A couple of Michelin star restaurants, all the way through to a golf club which does an amazing bacon sarnie.
Wow, it's a shame we can't do this face to face. You can't see the big grin on my face, but it just sounds such an amazing set of businesses to own, and still independent, family owned. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100% family owned, which is lovely. I'm the luckiest person in the world because we're second generation business. The shareholders are my brothers and sisters who kind of leave me to get on with it, especially during COVID times.
Hey, good luck with that. Yeah, you're on your own.
Absolutely, but it's really nice because we've developed a really lovely niche, good reputation, and I've got the freedom to effectively do what I like within certain parameters. So there's lots and lots of advantages to being a family business.
Yeah, amazing. You're also largely responsible for England winning the 2003 Rugby World Cup, I hear. Is that right? And what was your
Absolutely.
part in that, Danny?
I well, I think I'm actually in Clive Woodward's book. It's one of my claims to fame. I can't exactly remember the page number, but we've been lucky enough at Penny Hill to have the England Rugby contract since 1999 on and off. So at Penny Hill Park, we've got the England RFU training centre and a pitch that is an exact replica of Twickenham, built by the same manufacturers as the guys who built the Twickenham pitch, fed with the same fertilizers, chemicals. So if you ever wanted the exact Twickenham pitch experience, then come and have a run out on the pitch here.
Wow, that's pretty cool, isn't it? I'm getting increasingly jealous as the longer we chat, Danny. That's a pretty You've got a lot of very nice toys.
Yeah, it's really the rugby relationship has been lovely because over the years we've seen sort of you get privileged to see the inside workings of the teams and the different dynamics of the different managers, and can't really go into any details on them, but it's such a privilege watching the a sports team, because I think most of us are really fascinated by sport, and you watch the management styles and what works and how it works. It's just a really insightful experience.
Yeah, that must be really interesting. Do you, oh, there's little bit of feedback there. But do you have to pretend that you're sort of mowing the lawn to go in and see their management style, or are you welcomed in with open arms as the proprietor?
No. We keep. I'm very to keep a respectful distance. But anything that's going on, you get a relationship with people as much or as little as they want. But even at arm's length, you kind of get a sense of changes in style, changes in dynamics, changement in nutrition philosophies, changes in change, if that makes sense. You see how often people like to change it up, or how routine they are, or what scientific sort of sports science they're bringing in. So yeah, even if I wouldn't want to give the impression that I'm sort of listening at the door, because that A isn't the case, and B would get me in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Well, luckily you're an English supporter, so I guess it wouldn't be too bad. It'd be different if you were. Although you've had the New Zealand team training there as well, have you? Or
Yeah, so we were lucky enough in the 2015 World Cup, we were a host provider, which obviously England went out at the group stage, which was really unfortunate. But then in short succession, we had South Africa, Argentina, and the All Blacks for the final. So, and in fact, the way we got the contract originally was in the 1999 World Cup final. We looked after the All Blacks, and we did such a good job. Clive Woodward basically came to see me and said, "I'd love to set up a base with you." And the long and short of it was, I said, "What do you need?" He said, "You build me a pitch." We built him a pitch, and it was all done on a handshake. And yeah, here we are, 20 odd years later.
Amazing. That's great, isn't it? And the joy of being independent and being able to make your decisions yourself and do things on a handshake. What a privilege that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. So you became MD in 1997, but I was interested to know, were you working in the business before that with your dad? Did he make you start as a kitchen porter and work your way up, or what was the story pre you being MD?
I did start as a kitchen porter, but at the I did a sort of homegrown training program. So I worked for the Savoy in the kitchens. That was my first job in the old grill room, which was just such a fantastic experience. I worked kitchen and restaurant side. My first job at the Savoy, I spent 3 weeks making mint sauce. 15 hours a day on my feet. I lost about 2 stone in weight in the first month and a half, but it was just a great experience. Then I went to Cornell, did the summer school, the hotel summer school, then worked for Sheraton in Washington, D.C. for a year, then spent 2 years working for Four Seasons, Park Lane, front office, which once again, amazing experience. So 5 years outside of the business, and then came in and started from the ground up. With the interesting thing about family businesses is not that are always set a sort of success criteria to move up a level. And obviously, I had a huge advantage being a family member, but my dad was very old school. So whenever I had a job, I had to hit certain targets, be it quality or so when I used to run South Lodge Hotel years ago, and we had to get red stars and hit a certain turnover and profit mark before I was allowed to move to the head office. So it was very clear what I had to do to move forward, because the downside of a family business is you employ 800 people, and if the person running the business is, well, same with any business, but the person running the business is no good, you're putting all of those jobs in jeopardy. So yeah, it was very old school, but really, really rewarding.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think often you're stricter with your kids. My son's only 12 at the moment, but it's just starting to. I was going to say, is he showing an interest? Maybe I'm showing an interest in trying to at least get him to help out in the business. But I think there's always that thing with the managers saying that don't treat him any differently. Don't feel obliged. If anything, work him harder, because you really don't want it to be that sort of sense of entitlement or privilege. So yeah, good that you went through it.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is the reality of the family business. Actually, you end up having to work much harder to prove yourself, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a really, really healthy thing.
No, absolutely. So I'm going to cause you a little bit of pain, Danny, because I want to start just by going back to January this year, and you'd fairly recently opened the new spa. You'd been getting some exceptional feedback. I think you were planning a microbrewery and some green initiatives this year. Just to set the context again, but before the chaos started, how were things trading? How were things looking back in January, and what were your expectations for 2020?
We were flying. The new spa at South Lodge. We just absolutely really excited. We have a restaurant there called Botanica, that very locally food sourced, very plant based, really on trend in terms of brunch, and just a great offering. Um, uh, that was just the most successful restaurant we've ever had. Membership went from 0 to almost 500 members in the first 6 months across the group. Everything it seemed I've never been so optimistic about a year as 2020, because everything we were doing, we every year we've grown the business from day one. We've never had a year where we've gone backwards, but our pace of growth for 2020, all the sort of KPIs were showing we were going to smash it, and then and then suddenly this little thing called COVID came along. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I think we should just end there, shall we? Well, great. I'm glad to hear everything's going so well. Let's just miss.
Let's try and be uplifting.
Yeah, I've got to ask though before we carry on. So South Lodge, I hear incredible things about it. It sounds absolutely wonderful. I was pleased in some ways, having managed a couple of renovations and rebuilds, not quite at the same scale, because I saw a few different numbers, and originally it looked like it was on target to cost $7.5 million, and then it was 14 million, and it ended up at 15 million. And I was just intrigued to know, did it become more ambitious as time went on, or were there some complexities in the build that you weren't expecting?
I don't ever remember it being 7.5. It did.
Maybe there was a one missing on that or something. It was in one of the press things that I read.
It did go up. We had a slightly unfortunate incident. Our pool contract went bust halfway through the build, which is the worst time for a pool contractor to go bust. So effectively, we had to build 2 swimming pools and redo all the plant to ensure that we had a pool that worked and warranties and all of that good stuff. But we'd built in a contingency, so it did end up at 15 million. It probably should have cost a bit less than that, but no projects are without hiccups, and I always look back on a project and say, was it worth it in the end? And that one definitely.
Yeah, I've never managed to build anything on budget, so more than anything, I was just relieved to see that other people suffer the same challenges. But for people that've not been there or been on the website and read about it, what is it that's so special about that place?
So we try and create and really focus on the experience, and the spa at South Lodge, we've got some wonderful thermal sequencing, but everything is built with the South Downs, the views, a real local emphasis, but that is incorporated in the building itself. So you can sit in a sauna, and it's got a glass window, and you can look out over the South Downs. We've got a hydrotherapy pool outside. Once again, you can be hanging over the edge of resting on the edge of the hydrotherapy pool, looking out over these wonderful vistas, and we try and really incorporate the landscape. If I'm lucky enough to have hotels in the country, we've got to use the landscape and the larder that's around us, and so the Botanica concept I was mentioning earlier, we partner with some wonderful people. We've got Ridgeview, which is English sparkling champagne that is only about 12 miles away from South Lodge. Really wonderful wine, but they partners with us. We have a nail bar called the Ridgeview Nail Bar, and you can get a manicure and a glass of local fizz. We've got a 12 treatment rooms, a mud room, and we've got this relaxation room, which is these sort of pods that gently massage you and heat you to sleep. So it's got some really innovative design in there, and we've got a gym that you wouldn't describe as a hotel gym. I'm really, although I'm a hotelier, I don't like creating what I call bog standard corporate hotel experiences. So a really great gym that's more like if you went to a New York loft gym, it's that kind of feeling and vibe. So really, really proud of it. It's got huge eco credentials. You mentioned early on, I'm pretty passionate about eco, not just to tick a box, but because in a privileged position of running your own business, I can be. We've got biomass boilers, we've got a grass roof. The outdoor swimming pool is a natural swim pond, so there's no chlorine. It's got reeds and flowers and filtration, and the odd newt swimming in the outdoor swim pond. And we incorporate all of that back into the restaurants. We've got a kitchen garden at South Lodge that we're very proud of. So a lot of the produce goes there. One of the hero dishes is called a wasted burger. So we make juice that we pulp, where all the pulp that's left over, we make into a burger, and we use. It's going to sound. It tastes much better than it sounds, but we take the bread that's left over and make it into buns. We use the offcuts from potatoes and make it into skinny fries. So the whole dish with the beetroot ketchup, the whole dish is effectively wasted items, but tastes absolutely fantastic.
After the stress of the last 4 months, Danny, in my personal life, that even that description alone was making me feel more relaxed. When you said something about heated, something that helps you nod off, I was becoming more. I could have just listened to you answer all day, I think. So it sounds absolutely incredible. I, for one, will be coming to visit. So congratulations.
You're welcome at any time. Give me a shout.
I will do. Did you get to sit in those pools when you were shut down on a particularly stressful day of working out your the catastrophic impact of COVID? Did you get to sit there, or was it all switched off?
No, to be honest, like everyone, I mean, I've been pretty strict following the guidelines of lockdown, so I've worked from home. It's only been the last couple of weeks that as soon as you were allowed to meet other people officially, other households, I've been out and just done a road trip round the group and the properties. But other than that, it's been watching by Zoom. Although we've had quite big teams on site, we most of our maintenance and grounds teams were on non furlough, because we've used it as an opportunity where we can to paint, renovate, do a lot of that really boring stuff behind the scenes, like boilers and clarifiers and just stuff that guests normally don't like you to do when they're around, but has to be done. So we've had a lot of activity on site, but not necessarily full swimming pools.
That's great if you can utilise that opportunity to do work. Is that because you had cash reserves to do it, or did you need to get any investment in? Or?
Well, we're a pretty prudent company. I'm not going to. I think any hotelier that says cash has been easy over the last 4 months is lying. But we were in very good position beforehand. I mean, it has been tough, and also a lot of the projects have been. If you're painting and decorating, actually, we've had to have physical people on site because of security and doing sort of things like Legionella and water, turning taps on and off. So we've utilised all of those guys, paint, decorate, and it's not all been high cost items. It's just been that disruptive, and so our investment has probably been less than we normally would spend, but it's been just focused on those items that have been areas, I should say, that would have been particularly disruptive to guests.
Yeah, perfect. A good use of time. So, sort of thinking back to March when the pandemic hit, had you been given any sort of tip off? Have you got? I know you're part of the Master Innholders, so presumably lots of contacts in the industry, and when we could see this sort of almost happening in slow motion as it was coming across Europe. Did it catch you completely by surprise, or did you see it coming and get to do any planning?
No, I think you can. We're lucky, if that's the right expression, in the sense of 46% of our business is meetings and high level board meetings. So most of those are international. And to be honest, from the end of February, we started getting a tsunami of cancellations that really gained momentum early March. So even mid to end of February, we were starting to sense there was going to be a problem. So I think it depends on a lot for people. If you were purely in the leisure market, you would have cottoned on a lot later, and a lot of London hoteliers were starting to feel it earlier because of international mix. So we had a good idea, but I don't think anybody envisaged lockdown and the length of lockdown. Are just, it's kind of nightmare scenario. Even if you were scenario planning it, you couldn't have planned what was going to happen. Um, and then to have an announcement on a Friday at 5:15 to be told you got to shut on at 9:30 when Mother's Day was on the Sunday. I don't think anybody could have foretold that.
No. Yeah, we were the same. I mean, not on your scale, but at that point, I was certainly hoping to at least trade through the Mother's Day weekend. We had a lot of people booked in that Sunday. Maybe in hindsight, it was good that it didn't happen, because maybe it would have led to more spread of the virus. But it didn't feel like great timing, and particularly if you're on a sort of tourism or coastal area as we are, because that was literally the weekend of the start of the season. So
Yeah.
bad timing. So literally, you closed everything down, and then it was into sort of crisis management, presumably, of working out
Yeah,
what happens next and how do you reopen.
Yeah, absolutely. Sitting there on the Saturday morning with the management team, sort of socially distancing, and just flip charts and, okay, guys, what are we gonna do? And I mean, what was, I think, really interesting. A lot of companies, brands, people have come out of this with a really good reputation and relationships, and a lot haven't. And so the one thing we tried to focus on was doing the right thing by all of our customers, be it corporate or leisure or individuals, and not um, I just not be short term. And I think a few people, especially with deposits or any form of refunds, were quite aggressive with customers. And I've heard some horror stories, but we said we want to do right by our customers, and we need to do right by our team. We made a decision to top our team up in April. We weren't able in May to top them up in any shape or form after that, just from a cash point of view. But it's been, I suppose, that the kind of that planning meeting will live long in my memory, probably in yours as well. Because there were so many unknowns, weren't there?
Yeah, they're very much. Well, even in the build up to it, I think we were making decisions in the morning that were being completely overturned by the evening, and never been so busy. Yeah, trying to block it out now a little bit. But your relationship then, because you're obviously well connected in the industry, chairman now of Master Innholders, is that right?
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's a 2-year stint, and it's coming to an end in September. But I love doing that. The Master Innholders, for those that don't know, is effectively a collective of well-known hoteliers who the only real criteria for becoming a member is that you do good for the industry on a whole. It's sort of an altruistic approach to hospitality. So it's not uh, benefiting your own properties. We raise significant money for scholarships. So we run a couple of programs. We send a lot of people to Cranfield and Cornell with the help of the Innholders Savoy Education Trust. So in a normal year, of the COVID year is slightly different, but we send 16, 18 people to Cranfield or Cornell. We run an aspiring leaders program, which is for up and coming managers, run by a lady called Dr. Hilary Cook. That they get effectively taught how to step up to the next level. A lot of charity work for Hospitality Action, Springboard, So it's a real privilege to be part of that, and you just meet some amazing hoteliers, and a kind of, anyone in our business. I'm sure you're the same. We actually spend a whole time when you meet. You're always meeting inspirational people. I was listening to your podcast, just Andrea on with Andrea Rasker, and I didn't know of him, and I just listened to it, and you think, wow, that's inspiring. And I think a lot of us in our industry, that's what we thrive off, and the Master Innholders gives me a lot of that, because you meet some of the best hoteliers in the industry.
Yeah, no, we're very lucky. It's an incredible industry, I think, for interesting characters. It's why this is called, the humans of hospitality and not the brands of hospitality. I think it's such an incredible sector for energized, creative people whose natural reflex basically is to give hospitality. And whether that means looking you in the eye and certainly in the past giving you a firm handshake or a hug and offering you a beer or a cuppa, it's sort of ingrained in your DNA. And it's nice to be in an industry, I suppose, where fundamentally our job is to make other people feel good, and it is full of good humans. Have you been working then? Did you work closely with UK hospitality and Kate Nichols and that sort of ear to government? Have you been involved in that?
Yes, and there's been a few. I mean, to me, Kate Nichols has been inspirational. I think you've always got to look on the positive of any bad situation, and I think the work she's done on behalf of the wider hospitality industry, not just in helping us get a good deal in terms of what Rishi Sunak's done, and the VAT cut and the eat out voucher and all of that good stuff, and the the rates, cancellation of rates for a year, but the positioning of the hospitality within government. If anything good's come out of this, I think the work she's done, and quite a few other people, people like Robin Hudson, have been. I signed his letter that was sent to Boris and Rishi Sunak, and he had a meeting with them. So that there's been, I can't name them all, but quite a few people that have really been pushing the industry. And I think the government have finally started to realise that they need to put more of a value on our industry, what we offer, because now they haven't got our taxes and the income from all the people we employ, and understanding the complexity. I think they finally stood up and thought, actually, do you know what? This does contribute to the economy. It's got a valuable role to play.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think I agree with you that there seems to be a change in that recognition, I think, doesn't there, which hasn't been there historically, which, like you say, is the one good thing that comes out of it, because we are a significantly taxed sector, overtaxed compared to some of our peers. And let's hope that there's some longevity behind that, I think. And almost in every podcast, Kate's name comes up in a very positive light.
Yeah. But I think it's for all of us in hospitality, wherever we are, to keep pushing that advantage, as it were, now, and make sure that you're still pushing with your local MP, still social mediaing, still doing whatever you can do to make sure that we are front of mind, to celebrate if we're creating jobs or if we're contributing to something. The amazing charity work that we were the first to the most drastically affected in being shut down, but you see hoteliers. We gave all of our Mother's Day food stock away to NHS and local hospital trusts, and there's been some amazing examples of the Berkeley Hotel feeding NHS workers, some of the hotels in London staying open for key workers, and going above and beyond, not for profit, not for anything other than it's the right thing to do. And we just need to shout about it and keep celebrating it.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think we have that natural, like I say, reflex to want to help people and to want to look after people.
Yeah.
And it's definitely made me proud of our sector in a way that we haven't been, because I guess historically we're known as sort of, antisocial working hours and not always the best pay, and a job that a lot of people do sort of, particularly the younger generation, I suppose, in between jobs. And it's been nice that I think hopefully we would have inspired a few more people to come into the sector. Speaking of which, you've been doing that for years, because in 2014 you set up the Chefs Academy with this sort of quest to get people from commis chef to CDP in 2 years. What was your motivation for creating that? Did you see, there's been a lot of publicity, I suppose, in the last couple of years around the challenges of recruitment and chefs in the sector, and it being quite challenging to get people into the kitchen. Did you see that coming, or what was the motivation?
A bit of both. I mean, we wanted to develop. I'm a great believer in developing our own people. There obviously was and will be again a skill shortage in our sector. So it just seemed like the right time to invest heavily and grow our own. So we took 12 students who were level 2 or 3 out of college and put them on a 2-year intensive program, which was really hugely invested, run by a fantastic chef called Andy Mackenzie. And Andy basically they would work in the business in year 1 3 days a week. 2 days they would either have a visit to Brixham Fish or an abattoir, or we partner with Wellocks, go and meet some fruit and veg suppliers, and then cook. And our own internal chefs would demonstrate chocolate skills, or if they've been to the abattoir, then do a butchery class, then how to cook meat. Then in year 2, they would specialise. So they might specialise in pastry, or want to go into fine dining, or conference and banqueting, or whatever area they wanted to specialise in. They would work 4 days in the business at a different property. So they'd be working for a different chef. Because once again, we when we were looking at commies particularly, that they would last for a year with us, and then even though the experience was fantastic with us, they would go somewhere else, and you talk to them and you'd say, why are you going somewhere else? Well, I need to get something else on my CV. So after a year, we'd move them to another property, and that way they were getting a continued education by Andy and some of the senior chefs, but also they were learning by being in different brigades. We also launched a food and beverage academy last year as well. So that was front of house service, very similar experience. So supplier visits to coffee, Mozzo Coffee, or Ridgeview, or WSET training, and all of that good stuff, as well as practical on the job training. So I suppose the answer to your question is yes, we needed to do it, but also once again, it's a great thing to do, because haven't kept every chef that's been through the Chef's Academy, and some of them I've got one going great guns at the Manoir, one going great guns at Core in London. So they kind of become like your kids. You're just proud of them where they've gone and what they're achieving, and a couple of them are really going to do great things.
Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? Those tentacles reaching out into the industry. And I think it's the kind of industry where, it comes up a lot in conversation again, where you can phone somebody up and ask for some help or ask for some advice, or place a student. And, most people are happy to help people, I think, aren't they? It's not cutthroat where we're all trying to, to scramble to the top. It's a very supportive sector.
Absolutely. And I think that is a nice thing of the sector. Everybody, you just want to help each other out. And so many people from outside our industry just can't understand how uncompetitive we can be in that sort of cutthroat sector. It's just a nice way of doing business. And people will phone up and say to me, look, I've got a really good chef that I haven't got a vacancy at sous chef. Are you looking for something? And I'll be doing the same for them.
Yeah, no, it's a nice sector. So I've spoken to a number of people about sort of how they navigated through the closure and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna skip over that bits because I'm really interested now that I think we've shifted as a sector into the sort of complexities of reopening and what that looks like. So how many of your venues have you opened so far? What was the decision making process in deciding which ones to go first?
So the decision-making process was around those. I think the recovery is going to be led by UK domestic. I don't think that's rocket science, because internationally they're still quarantined for some of the countries. And so we decided to open Manor House, Penny Hill, South Lodge first, primarily because we've got golf and spa, but then the government sort of reneged on the original July the 4th, which we thought was going to be the original spa opening. But we decided to open those three first. We're opening Lainston on the 6th of August. We've got a really great cookery school that I mentioned earlier. We've got some. We're just launching these outdoor cooking schools with wood-fired ovens. We're partnering with Manor from Devon to do this outdoor cooking. So it was really about what properties of ours had the strongest leisure proposition, and then opening them up. But we also decided to open to residents only, i.e., you can't walk in at the moment and book dinner. That will change in August because we needed the team to really get to grips. It's been quite a change for the team coming back in and opening up again. And I mean, having just talked about South Lodge and the spa and the opening, to me, the reopening has been, we've treated it as an opening of a hotel again and retrained, reinducted all the teams just so they can get their head around the new customer experience and how we want to still be us and still deliver what Exclusive are known for, but in a safe environment.
So what sort of changes have you needed to make operationally then?
Well, I think the key message has been to our teams that we don't want COVID to define us. And I think that's a really important point. At the same time, your customers want to feel safe. So we spent a lot of time talking and training with the teams on how to interact. We've got a lot of very practical physical solutions. So we are taking temperature checks of every single person coming into the building, being customers or staff, because I also have to be mindful I'm here to protect my guests and my team. It's not either or. I'm here to protect both. But the temperature technology is really smart technology that is very seamless. You look at a screen, it's a really funky iPad. It takes less than a second to flash up green if you're under 38 degrees. And then it's every bit of the journey, it's everything we do. So we've changed our amenity in our room to add in a hand sanitizer bottle that's branded Exclusive. But so it's just those little touch points. We'd always put an amenity in a room, but why not add something that's going to make people feel safe? Things like planning for more room service, because guests want to feel their version of safe. So some guests have bowled up, sat in a restaurant, really comfortable, want to chat to everybody. Other people want to get away, but want to have a less contact experience. So it's talking to the teams, how can we deliver that less contact experience, but still with those twists and those nice little touches that make the guests feel recognized, safe. The room service offering has been completely redone. picnics, we've got a lot of rooms. We're lucky to have a lot of rooms with outdoor balconies, terraces, loads and loads of grounds. So picnic's been a great example of people just being able to go and sit in the grounds, and we lay out a lovely picnic for you and off you go. You don't see anyone else for an hour. You've had a lovely experience, and then we clean it all up for you, and you go back to your room and watch a box set of something that you might have done at home. But if that's your choice, then great.
Yeah, interesting. And is that costing a lot more to do, or have you managed to sort of find a way of absorbing it into just reallocating people from what they were doing before?
Well, it's cost a lot physically because we've got things like temperature checks, a lot of hand sanitizer, some signage. I'm the team will laugh when I talk about signage because I'm not a great believer in signage, but we have had to put some signage up. So face masks for certain tasks for the team, and if the team want to wear them, fogging machines. So we've added fogging into our cleaning regimes. So there's been a lot of physical costs. Room cleaning takes a lot longer. So a lot of labour costs. Back to room service costs more to deliver than a restaurant service. But you just got to roll with it, and it's I think if you're delivering a combination of a great experience and the customer feels safe having that experience, then you'll be rewarded in the short and medium term for delivering that.
Yeah. So presumably in the short term, just sort of costs that you're having to swallow, hoping that somehow you get through this and people are supportive, and I suppose that ultimately it's either got to go away and we don't need to do it anymore, or people are going to need to pay a little bit more for it, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how's the what's the response been? I suppose initially from a booking perspective, we're seeing certainly the media trying to sort of say that there's going to be a staycation boom and everything's going to be okay. And then I guess the reality of us opening the doors and looking at room occupancy. What's your experience?
Very tentative at first. Um, we were running 20-30% early the first week or two, but August is really looking very strong, and I just there seems to be good momentum towards staycations. I think there's been a slight function of time that people didn't want to rush out straight away. I don't know how you've found it, but I just got a sense that there's still a lot of very precautious people out there. But as time is going on and COVID sort of dropping down the agenda on the news, and people are having good experiences about going out and feeling safe, I think there's real momentum towards August, and I'm very optimistic about August for us.
Yeah, no, shared experience our end. I think we had a lot of people who just wanted to support us who came out the sort of first weekend, and it was the regular faces who, even if they felt a bit nervous, just wanted to come out and sort of show they were with us. But very quiet midweek. So we shut Monday, Tuesdays as a result of that and picked up. But what we are seeing is bookings pick up every week. We're sort of taking more bookings for the future, particularly around the restaurant side, and then the hotel side. Yeah, quiet, but from the 27th when the school holidays start, although that always feels a bit funny saying school holidays since most of the kids have been off anyway. But yeah, likewise, August looks like it's going to be a good month. What's your thoughts as to what happens rolling into autumn?
I think a lot of that still one of my learnings from COVID has been, I think a lot of hoteliers or restaurateurs are control freaks. We like to control, create an environment. We know every last bit of detail, but we haven't been in control over COVID. So the answer to the or going forward is dependent on, in my particular case, can I host weddings over 30? Can I host meetings? Because traditionally leisure drops off after the school holidays, and in a normal year we would go much more into company strategy meetings with a smattering of leisure. But if I can't do those bigger meetings, then it's going to be tough. And if I can't do the weddings, it's going to be really tough. And it depends on consumer confidence, how bad is, there is going to be a recession. Recessions aren't always bad because the really good operators, those with clarity of proposition, always do well no matter what. And there's always success stories. But right now, if I can't get meetings and weddings up and running, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I think it is. And any sign of that corporate market? That seems to be the bit most people are nervous of. I think most people are saying, look, leisure for August. I think also because, outdoor is clearly safer than indoor. So you can sit on the terrace, like you were saying, picnics in the grounds, windows and doors open. It feels okay. And then once you've sort of got to put the heating on and people have got to move out inside, it feels a little bit different. But the thing that would normally keep us going is corporate. The city saying that, maybe they're only bringing back 40 to 50% of their teams for the winter. Have you got any bookings, or is everybody literally sat on their hands and just waiting to see what happens?
No, we've got a lot. The issue is if we can do the ones over 30. So what's been interesting, obviously we haven't been able to do the bigger ones, but we've got huge number of inquiries for 8s, 10s, 12s, and that's because people have been sat in Zoom meetings, no face-to-face interaction. So we've ended up, even though now is, as you just said, it's traditional summer holiday time, so many of our regular companies and leisure clients who run businesses need and want to have that face to face, but the numbers have been really quite tiny for us. And of course, because we've got so many meeting rooms and so much outdoor space, we've given them. I had coffee with a client this morning, and he was saying, "I can't believe how much space you gave me."
Yeah.
I was joking. He said, "I bet normally that would have been a 50, 60 people meeting room, and I only had 9 people in it." And that's what we've got to do at the moment. So I think there will be a lot of demand. I feel sorry for my city centre friends who are hoteliers, because people, as you just said, people don't want to go into town. They've got used to working from home. They want space, and somehow out of town, my sort of locations just feels more safe. Factually, it's safe to sit outdoors, and the meetings we have been doing, we've given them huge amount of space indoors, but we've also been putting sofas, chairs outside because it's been beautiful when it has been beautifully sunny, and so they can go and you see the flip charts and the bean bags and the sofas out on the Lily Pond Terrace or the Botanica Terrace or wherever, and that's been the way people want to meet now.
Yeah, the year of alfresco. That's why I think it's going to get tougher in autumn when we sort of face the reality of going indoors. But maybe we'll just a bit more like the Scandinavians. We'll just dress up warmer and sit around fires. Your sort of Christmas bookings, do they tend to be in place already? And is it just a case of seeing whether they come through, or what's the experience, I suppose, on again demand?
I've got no data yet to suggest. I mean, my sense is that even if people, I just don't think it's going to be a year where people want to celebrate, or lots of businesses are making really tough decisions. So is it right to be holding a big jolly? I think it's going to be tough, and I implied in your question is December's a good month for us in our business, but I can't see it being strong, more sitting around perception of a company going out and having a big whilst we all need to say thank you to our teams for some of the amazing stuff they've done, in any market segment, there's this conflict with spending lots of money on a thank you or slap up meal or I don't want to be pessimistic, but I think it's going to be tough.
Don't worry, I'm not going to push you down that pessimistic rabbit hole anymore. I feel like I should go back to January and how buzzing and excited and how perfect everything was looking, Danny. I think I've pushed you far enough. But thanks for being so candid. I share your perspective, and I keep saying with my team, look, let's make the most of the next couple of months.
Absolutely. And Mark, I think you're absolutely right. It's, we can only do what's in front of us, and the next couple of months are going to be strong. And there's also a lot of going back to the positioning of hospitality, of hotels, of restaurants, of local independent. There's a lot of love and goodwill towards us. So let's capitalize on that and let's make the most. I think people are really, there's a strong number of people who really want to support us, and that will come out and benefit us. So let's make the most of it.
And even Rishi is offering to buy everybody lunch or dinner, so that's got to help, hasn't it?
Yeah, have you registered for that?
I don't know whether we press the buttons yet. I'm just waiting for confirmation, but I think we certainly will be, and we may have done it already. Yeah, why?
No. I've just we've registered for it, but I just looking at the it seems all you've got to do is send them some receipts to show that you gave 50% discount, and now they'll take your word on it and send you the money in 9 working days or something. But it just seems quite a lack of checks on it at this time. But I'll go with it. We're going to, of course, be offering it and taking advantage of it, because it's a great initiative, and I think Rishi's been very, very, it's back to what I said, very, very good to us. I'm not sure the thinking elsewhere has been amazing, but I'll take whoever's doing the treasury thinking has been. Hats off. I'm going to give them a really, really high score for what they've done.
Yeah, I don't think they could be trying any harder, could they, or demonstrating how supportive they want to be. And I think there's a lot of, business people, particularly in our sector, who could have just rolled over and gone, my God, I don't see how we're going to get out of this. It's just too tricky, and would have done. But with furlough and now VAT and that sort of support, it makes you step up and go, okay, clearly the government want us to find a way through, so let's step up and do our thing as the SME and the entrepreneurial sector and try and fulfill it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we will certainly do. So do you see any, you've been in the sector as a family for, decades, even you yourself for decades. Do you see any sort of positives coming out of this? What's your prediction for the sort of the medium term? Clearly, we're going to have a challenging winter ahead of us. But what do you see coming off the back of this from a sort of, a change to the sector overall?
I think everyone's the guys that have done well or are going to do well have re-looked at their offering. I think this localism, this is, it was very much on the agenda before, but I think there's a massive push forward. I think that's going to be a positive out of it. We've taken a step back and looked at all of our offerings and said, are they still valid? Some of we've got quite a strong membership base in terms of the 2 spas and golf, and let's make us, how can we engage better with members? We're working with Technogym on a sort of virtual, it's like a Zoom class, so that members can log in and do a class with a real life one of our instructors, but at a distance. So we've had lots of small product innovations that have come out of this. We're just about to work with Surrey Hills, which we were in the process of doing before, just to push that localism and work with all the wonderful artisan suppliers you get in Surrey Hills from not just a food but a beverage point of view. So I think you just got to refresh your offering, challenge what you're doing, grow from it. Maybe we had some people focused on the wrong areas, so we've refocused them on different areas. Yeah, it can't all be bad.
Yeah. You sound like the typical deluded optimist of our sector who, there's always a positive side, and there'll be a way through it. You clearly think there is. You're continuing to invest, and obviously you'd built the spa anyway, but presumably you're confident of finding a way to navigate your way through.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, we're all reliant on someone at the end of the day, be it banks or shareholders, and back to what you said, I'm in a lucky position being a family business and having been very prudent and not over leveraged before. But there is a way through it, and even though next year we're not going to be running at the levels we were in 2019, we still have a very viable business. And I always say to the team, if the pie shrinks, it's not rocket science. You've just got to get a bigger share of the pie.
Just like that.
Just like that. my operations and my sales and marketing guys will go, yeah, can you give us a bit of credit for all the work we're doing behind the scenes? But yeah.
No, I like that. It's a good summary. Just get a bigger bit of pie. Talking of pie, I'm going to talk cake. So you're a Strava cyclist, I notice as well. Has that been keeping you sane in the downtime?
Do you know what? Yes, it has. I had slight misfortune of during lockdown. One of the benefits was working from home, and I've got a 20-year-old and a 23-year-old. The 20-year-old is back from university, and so is my 23-year-old. She was working, but working from home, and my son managed to break two of my ribs whilst slide tackling me in an over aggressive way playing football. So my plans to keep fit over lockdown morphed into getting addicted to Zwift, because I could sit on a turbo trainer, and being the competitive person that I am, that the sort of gamification of Zwift. I don't know if you've ever done Zwift.
Yeah, I'm a big Zwift fan. It's set up in my kitchen as we speak.
All right. Well, I just didn't know that world existed, and I could sit there and not damage my ribs, and much to my wife's disgust, get very excited about getting achievement credits for having done certain things, or showing showing look, I've cycled New York today. It's all been good. So
yeah, sounds like your wife is about as impressed as mine when you come up with those kind of things. She just looks horrified at the noises that I can make on a bike in the kitchen.
Yeah. so I should. Where's your normal cycling route?
Well, normally, if I'm outside, I'm lucky to live by the New Forest, so I'm either in the New Forest or out in the Purbex, depending on whether I go east or west.
Okay, great cycling country.
Yeah, beautiful. Hilly, if you're feeling fit, get to the Purbex, and if not, the forest can be pretty forgiving. And I guess you've got the downs. Did your son admit to tackling you in an overly aggressive way, or did he just think you were a bit of a wuss?
He said I was a complete wuss. The other dad and lad we were playing said it was a clear red card, but my son's having none of it. He said, yeah, perfectly fair tackle. No sympathy.
Have you put his rent up off the back of that? Or?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, well done for finding some playtime in amongst all of the chaos as well. And just congrats on being a good egg in our industry. You came highly recommended as somebody to chat to, and somebody with sort of integrity, who's not sort of obsessed by bottom line profit, but actually loves hospitality and what we do, and have been doing it a long time. So thank you on behalf of the sector for being a good human being, and thanks today for sparing the time. But conscious of time, I should let you crack on. Where should people go, Danny, if they want to either follow you or if they want to find out a little bit more about the exclusive collection?
So got to plug the brand first. www.exclusive.co.uk. If you want to follow me, Instagram is foodhero2_ and Twitter's foodhero. So give us a bit of support. Any support is hugely appreciated. And Mark, really, thank you so much for having me on your wonderful podcast.
No worries, real pleasure. And I'll put links up on the show notes to the episode as well that take you through to your website and your channels. But thanks so much, and best of luck. Enjoy the next 6 or 7 weeks in the comparative relaxed state of seeing some customers and seeing some money come in. And then I really hope that there's some confidence for autumn, and you're still smiling after Christmas. Maybe we'll catch up again.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mark.
Cheers, Danny. So there you have it. What a top chap Danny is, who genuinely cares about other people, his team, his customer, and the wider world of hospitality. I will definitely be checking out some of Exclusive properties this year. Now, to find the links to Danny and his properties, please head over to humansofhospitality.co.uk, where you'll find the show notes. And whilst you're there, why not sign up to my weekly newsletter? No rubbish, just an update each week on the great guests that I'm chatting to. And the very last thing, before you go, can you please do me one very quick favour? Please pick up the device you are listening on right now and scroll down until you find the review section for this show. Click on 5 stars, and even better if you can, leave a few words. It really helps me out in getting those clever algorithms to share the show and get as many listeners as possible. Thanks, and I'll be back next Monday with a new episode.